Hey guys, so the other day we had part 1 and part 2 of setting up an anonymous website on the I2P network, the Invisible Internet Project. One reason I really like I2P is there's just so many features. You can change the way it behaves and your tunnel length as well, something I'll be covering as well. And that's not always an option on other networks. Some things are more static, but on here you can change the behavior of the tunnel, and you can also block different nodes. So if there's a node you don't trust, and we'll talk more about attacks on networks like I2P and Tor. I have that as a planned video coming, so make sure you're following here and make sure you're subscribed and following the blog. Now you have two options to follow the blog. There's always buymeacoffee.com/politictech, and now we have an I2P based place for me to add some posts that are related to I2P and other privacy and internet security topics. Of course, I am not just focused on I2P. This channel focuses on many different things. So while I may be putting a lot of focus on I2P, I'm going to be covering many other topics that will interest everyone. So if you haven't tried I2P, you can always check out my earlier tutorials. There's a lot of benefits to using I2P. While we made a blog, an anonymous blog, which we're looking at right now, and it's only as anonymous as you make it. So if you're sharing identifiers, whether that is you typing something that uniquely identifies you, from stylometry to hardware identifiers in the network, to different types of sharing of information that could be linked to you personally, all of these things can be taken into consideration, and there's many different packages out there that can really help you out there. For example, I made a post the other day on KickSecure, and I talked about why the blog is hosted on KickSecure. It has various types of protections and hardening for the Debian operating system, and it comes to us from the developers of Unix. So it is a reputable operating system. It also has various things for clock randomization, which is another way that users can be de-anonymized on these types of networks, and that's one other benefit to using KickSecure as a self-hosting operating system on Tor or I2P or LokiNet, anything along those lines. KickSecure could bring you great benefits, and if you're a user and you want something that forgets everything you do, check out Prestium. Prestium is a Tails-like amnesic I2P-based operating system, and you don't have to stay inside the I2P network. You also have access to out proxies that allows you to visit normal websites anonymously. You can also watch my channel anonymously on the I2P network by just searching RTP Tech Tips and going to tube.I2P and a working I2P browser setup. So today we're moving on with our self-hosting anonymously on the I2P network, and we're going to set up remote hidden SSH access. Now, when you set up and you open SSH to the world, that's the problem. You're opening it to the world unless you have it, set up correctly, you have SSH key authentication, and you've blocked everything outside of there. But how would you like to be able to run an SSH remote administration for any server or device you have and have that be invisible to the greater internet, in that there would be no open ports for anyone except for localhost? And that's what I'm talking about today. So I went through and did this written tutorial and added plenty of screenshots for every step for you guys. And you can go ahead and check this out, install SSH. I got every step you need to get started. And you go to the tunnel manager, then go and make a server tunnel after you have the SSH server running. Then you need to select a standard tunnel and hit next. And when SSH runs, it normally runs on TCP port 22, and that's what we're going to be using. And since we're self-hosting it and we're using I2P, we need to ensure that we set it to localhost on the I2P router that we are setting up this tunnel on. So it's basically like setting up an onion on the Tor network. You can do, and I actually did videos on this, how to have a onion access for your SSH on your server device. And you can basically compare it in the same terms because it is tunneling through localhost through itself, and then it is bringing that access to you through the I2P network. So just simply follow my instructions. Make sure you have proxychains installed. This is an easy way to do it. I was actually talking to Not Bob, and they mentioned that they created a client tunnel for it, and that was my first thought. But I thought the proxychains was worth trying out. Just because it seemed like a shorter tutorial to write. And, I know people don't have the greatest attention spans for technical tutorials, so I wanted to make this really easy. So we went with proxychains, and once you have that tunnel set up as shown here, you can simply add the I2P port for access, an HTTP proxy configured in proxychains configuration file, which is /etc/proxychains. Simply add this line. You can copy and paste it right from the blog here. So you can copy that, paste it right in, make it the only line that is not hashed out. And then what you need to do is find your base 32 address, which is the address that you can easily access your I2P devices from. So when we set up an SSH tunnel on the I2P network, we also are going to use the base 32 in order to point out where we're trying to head to the I2P network. So you can do that by going to your tunnel manager, and in the status messages you'll be able to copy and paste it right here. I did redact it because I didn't see a need to publish my personal base 32 for the proxy, so yours will be right here where the red text is. And then all you have to do after that, once you have everything done, you simply write in the terminal proxychains SSH user at, and then the base 32 address. As simple as that. I've already logged in. Now, I do recommend that you should set up key authentication. So I actually linked my tutorials on further securing SSH, and I recommend you go through those, especially the second one, because that's where it's going to show you how to avoid man-in-the-middle attacks, because that is something you need to know about. So anytime you do SSH somewhere, it's really important to check the fingerprint, and I show you how to do that right in SSH Part 2. So what can happen if some malicious device is between you and the destination? They can try and get you to connect to their key, and their key fingerprint will not match your actual key fingerprint. So I talk about how you can check it on the server side to ensure that you're not in the middle of a man-in-the-middle attack. So that's another tip for you guys. And you can block SSH connections. If you do this, you can block SSH connections for all hosts outside of localhost, and that further secures it as well for you for this optional hidden SSH I2P access. So you can remotely, administrate, monitor, do anything you need to do. So this is really helpful if you're running a hidden I2P site or a hidden Tor site. This will allow you to have easy access to it without making that access accessible to the rest of the world. Especially after you set up SSH key authentication, you disable the passwords inside the SSHD configuration. Now, like I said, you read this, you follow these two, and all of this is going to make sense because it breaks it all down for you, how to do all of those things. So if any of this isn't making sense, I have plenty of screenshots and tutorials to help you through the process. So that's what I wanted to talk about tutorial-wise today, but I also want to point out a news story. So we're going to go ahead and chop it into the same video. So Microsoft Outlook is now a nice data collection service. And so I posted about this actually on my Mastodon. So make sure you follow me over at Mastodon. My Twitter, which, it's practically shadow banned, but it's not. It's de-amplified, or it's just not amplified. Not everything is shadow banned. Sometimes these algorithms amplify accounts based on if they're paying for the blue check mark or not, and various other interests that have to do with the companies. But, in my case, obviously, I'm not paying to promote anything, so I only have 59 people who even saw this tweet exists. Now, if you compare my reach on Mastodon, I have had people retweet it 29 times, like it 22 times. Have had none of that on the Twitter side. And I'm just doing this as a direct comparison. Sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my time on Twitter, and I'm still going to keep my account on there as long as they don't require, proof of identification or something silly like that, because it's not getting enough views to justify anything like that. So yeah, I'll continue posting on Twitter, so follow me there if you'd like, or follow me on Mastodon. It's a decentralized option that allows you to federate with various Mastodon servers around the world, so it's a really great option. But let's continue on to the story. So with Microsoft's new rollout of Outlook, which is the email product that they have, which is basically something you would compare to Thunderbird. Thunderbird, the reason I bring this up, highly recommend checking out Thunderbird. I've done several tutorials on Thunderbird, including how to set up Torified Onion Mail, which is another project, and also the I2P SSH Mail, which is a really excellent option for you. So if you have an interest in privacy, anonymity, or security, or all three, well, this is a perfect email for you. It's absolutely free, and once you get on the I2P network, you can set it up really easily. And I actually did a full video and written tutorial on this, so if you check out my Mastodon account, you'll actually see it right at the top. You'll see Thunderbird and PGP setup with I2P mail example, and I show you my server settings and everything. Talk about how you can create your own PGP key. Nice thing about PGP is you have full control. You can encrypt a message to anything. So, for example, when you have SMS text messages, you can actually send them PGP encrypted, because we all know SMS text messaging is in the clear. In fact, by law, they have to collect all of them, and all are collected, and they're easily read. So with SMS texting, if you're still doing that, just realize your text messages are being collected, they're being read, they're being scanned, and they're probably being resold. We know this has happened in the past, and we should just expect that kind of thing. So make sure you use Signal or Thunderbird, and follow my tutorials. Not everyone has the same needs. So what I try to do is give you what you need to know, the best possible protection in a simplified way that's not going to be long and drawn out and dealing with problems that you'll probably never even run into. And I actually have a post on that, which you can check out on the bmc.link/politictech posts, and you'll see all of my tutorials that I've written there. So if you want a privacy guide that tells you what you need to know without going on at length about things that you may never need. And I do try to simplify it. And let me give you an example of that. I try to show you operating systems that you can use that solve all of your problems instead of having to set it all up on your daily driver. But I do recommend your daily driver. There are certain things that you should do on every system. And I try to prioritize that, and that's what I've done with this page. It has all my most important tutorials that I've ever written here, and also videos. So make sure to check out this post if you have an interest in privacy, if you're just getting started, or if you're an advanced user who wants to make sure they've got everything under control. So Microsoft is actually, with their new Microsoft Outlook, their email package, so basically like Thunderbird for Windows, it shares your data with 772 parties. So yeah, not one or two, not three or four. It actually shares your data with 772 third parties, and they can use it for a number of purposes, including storing, accessing information on the user's device, developing and improving products. That is the one thing that they always like to throw in, just to make sure that you have the belief that they're actually doing something good with it. Personalized ads and content. Well, we all know that advertising is not always what it seems, and a lot of things come to us under the guise of advertising. In fact, so much of the surveillance data as we see it actually comes from advertisers selling your data. Measure ads and content. derive audience insights, obtain precise location data. How nice. So yeah, it's tracking you. Microsoft Outlook is tracking you. Identify users through device scanning. So it doesn't seem like it's doing just the email thing. Sounds like it's doing quite a bit. And that's something Microsoft does. They try to monetize things on the operating system, and that is one reason I always encourage people to check out Linux. Just try it out. You still can use Windows for your gaming, for whatever it is that you do on Windows. So I've been using Linux for a very long time, and I'm not even going to go into how long. It's been a very long time. Most of my life, I'll just say that. I've been using Linux most of my life, and I really encourage people to check out one. And if you want my suggestion, let me know in the comments. Tell me what your goals are, and I'll throw out an operating system that I think can meet your needs. So do recommend take a look at my Thunderbird tutorial. You don't need I2P mail. So I used I2P mail in the example, but you definitely don't need that. And in fact, I also went further with this, and I also talked about for all email providers, setting it up in Thunderbird, and also how to have maximum security and privacy using Thunderbird settings. So make sure you check out my tutorial there. I tried to link everything here. So here we have optimizing and maximizing your safety in email. So you can take a look at that. I even put up an archive link. So if you're a Tor user and Cloudflare blocked you, go ahead and click on that. Just go to falstodon.org/@RTP, and you can find a much better alternative to those who are trying to collect your data and share it with 772 parties. I mean, right? 772 different parties. It's unbelievable that, there is no limit to this stuff. There's no limit. As Thunderbird replied, over 772 reasons to use Thunderbird. But who's counting? Anyway, love Thunderbird, love the I2P project. Highly encourage you to check out both. Of course, I'll be covering plenty of other topics, and I have planned some Linux beginner related tutorials coming up. But I did want to cover this story because this is going to be something I think is going to be forever kind of story. So while today I was talking about setting up hidden SSH access on the I2P network, this story isn't going to go out of date because I don't think they're going to end this policy. So if you care about your privacy, take a look at Thunderbird, check out my tutorials, and follow me over at bmc.link/politictech. And you can find my privacy guides there. And you can also, it's everything you need. You don't need guides from anywhere else if you don't want to. You can always use this as a resource, and it's going to give you the best protection you can get. And, that's just what it is. And I try to make it so I don't go into too many changes because I think you can have an operating system solution that can solve most of your problems in so many cases. So I run a daily driver, which is a Debian-based Kicksecure, as you can see right here. But I also have other specialty operating systems. I can boot to a USB stick with Tails, which is a nice amnesic Tor-based operating system. I love Tails. It's perfect for low-resource computers as well. I've run Tails on 2 gigabytes of RAM without an issue. So that just gives you an example. Now, on the other hand, you can try out Cubes if you have over 16 gigabytes of RAM, but you also have to have the right virtualization. You can also check out Prestium. It's like Tails, so it's nice and lightweight. You can even change the length of the tunnel so you can add additional nodes around the world to your connection. So if you're usually connecting through 3 parties in the middle, randomly chosen, you can actually make that 4 people randomly chosen of I2P users around the world. So there's so many options out there to protect your privacy. A lot of times the best choice is getting one of the operating systems where thousands of hours of development has gone into perfecting your privacy as much as can be done. That is a great all-around solution. Keep some disks of something like Kicksecure, like Tails, and you'll be good to go. And Prestium, of course. So that's what I had today, guys. Just wanted to cover how you can protect yourself by setting up hidden remote SSH. So if you want to administrate any kind of server, check out this tutorial. I talked about what you need to do today, so you could just follow this video, but really having this easy cut and paste configuration is hopefully going to help some people try it out. So make sure to check out the channel over at bmc.link/politictech. It's public and free to follow. There's also membership option if you want to support this, and commissions, where I also sell Intel neutered laptops with core boot. There's plenty of options out there. There's a shop you can check out if you want to support this a different way. The best way to support this is just simply sharing these videos and posts. I put a ton of hours into these posts and videos, so it really means a lot when I see someone share it. It just shows that, people like this content, so it's free to share stuff. And if you do join the membership, I do put out some extra posts for those to thank those who did join the membership. So there'll be some things that maybe are more private in nature, where I might not want to talk about something that is personal to me for public, that can be scraped and such. And then there's also techniques once in a while that I developed that I don't think is a good idea to make public, because I'm afraid that those will be blocked. For example, tricks on connecting to something in a way it wasn't designed to be connected to. And so that could be blocked if it was made public. So sometimes I will put out some extra posts, and anything I think everyone should know about for their best possible privacy and security, I make that absolutely public, of course. And I try to make everything possible public that I can. In time, sometimes I'll go back and review some posts and see what I feel comfortable making public. But that's what I got today, guys. Make sure to follow over at the bmc.link/politictech blog. And also now over at right2privacy.i2p and a working I2P based browser setup. You can also watch the videos anonymously on IncogTube. Just look up RTP Tech Tips, click on one of the videos, and you can see the entire channel there. I really like the layout here, looks nice. So check that out, and you can also support IncogTube, who host this, by checking out their hosting options as well. And also I hear that Stormy Cloud, the default out proxy, is going to be offering some type of I2P based hosting. If there's something you don't like, just let me know. And I always listen to feedback. Doesn't mean I'll change the direction of the channel, of course, but I do appreciate everyone's feedback. So thanks, guys. Make sure to follow the blog at right2privacy.i2p or bmc.link/politictech, and over at YouTube, BitChute, over on PeerTube and other platforms, as well as Odyssey. So I will be back later with more on how to protect your security and privacy. How it's supposed to feel.